the Church League Champ Podcast. Right back at it again. You know how we do. And I'm happy to have a guest here because he doesn't know, but how much trash I used to talk for him and how much I used to tell people y'all can't see him and y'all don't even know who this guy is. Back in the day, man, Rashad Phillips is on the podcast with me. And first off, man, thank you for joining.
Yes, thanks for having me.
If you don't know who he is, hit the Google. Hop on Google, hop on YouTube, and just type in his name. Or better yet, go ask if you know some cats who played some college ball in between the late 90s, early 2000s. Ask him about him. Ask about me, as Jay-Z would once say. Played at UAD, and of course, you know I'm from Michigan, so I got to see him play all the time. Yeah. And I got to tell, man, I'm telling you, we used to call him the Detroit Iverson. Used to have the braids. Remember that? Had the braids. Looks like him a little bit, just light skin. We just light skin. That's all it is. Just light skin with braids, so you were Iverson.
Yeah.
But just talk a little bit about, man, just you know that era for you and the success you had, Horizon Player of the Year, a couple of years in a row. And just your experience in college. And again, for those who don't know, it was exciting to see because how tall are you officially?
5'9".
5'9". Okay, so 5'9". Shooting from anywhere, shooting from all over the place, putting up buckets, averaged like 23, 24 points a game, and it was just fun to see. So kind of talk about your college career a little bit. And then the reason he's on the podcast is, of course, you know, Thursday is the NBA draft. So we got a lot of work to do. And congrats on you, big time, Colin Cowherd. You were just on the show,
it was awesome. Did
your thing, and we got to go over your mock draft, if you will, top 10 at least.
Yep.
So, but talk about college, man, just your experience and being undersized and what that was like.
Yeah.
Kinda, you know, getting it popping back then.
Well, it was a beautiful thing, man. You know, when you go into college, it's such a mountain climb. For me, it was a great accomplishment to leave high school and get to that level. Only 3% of athletes play Division I college basketball. So right there, you're in elite company. But outside of that, being very good my first year and accomplishing so much going forward, I maximized my potential over time, became the player of the year as a junior and a senior, defensive player of the year as a sophomore, just tons and tons of accolades, which, I mean, it was a testament to obviously the great teammates and the coaches that I had, but also there was something inside of me that wanted to prove to people that I belonged. And the whole time I played at UAD, I didn't believe that I was a mid-major point guard. So every time I stepped on the court, I wanted to prove to people I was a Big Ten point guard.
Well, this is when I jump in. I hit you with a Nate Dogg hold up. I hit you with the hold up because I want you to start right there, go back a little bit. So what was that like your junior, senior in high school, right? So I'm sure you were doing your thing.
Yeah.
And do you feel you were overlooked? Do you feel that maybe you just weren't good enough at the time? Where was the development process then in high school as to why you didn't get those maybe bigger offers?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with obviously my size. Again, 3% of people only play Division I basketball. So I was crowded into that. Then you also had to take in consideration that I was at a school like Ferndale, who wasn't known for their basketball prowess on the outskirts of Detroit, wasn't well known. So you had all those factors playing against me, but I was a pretty good player as a junior and as a senior, but just didn't get the notoriety that I thought I deserved. And I know a lot of guys probably feel that way at being small, but I was able to kind of turn the tables a little bit by getting invited into the Magic Round Ball Classic in Auburn Hills and outplaying Kobe Bryant and Tim Thomas and Rip Hamilton and those type of guys, and kind of got my name on the national stage. And then
did you hear the names he just threw around? He just threw Tim Thomas and Rip Hamilton, the NBA champion, Kobe Bryant, top 5, 8 greatest players of all time.
Yep.
Stay there for a minute with Kobe. I read a quote that I'm going to paraphrase it. Basically, Kobe said that you're the best player that never made it to the league.
Yeah.
Is that true that he said that? And then B, you know, how did that make you feel? And have you had some type of maybe dialogue or relationship with him at all?
Yeah, it was funny when, you know, he said that to me after they played the Pistons a couple years ago. Not a couple years ago. It was about 7 years ago, right before the Gasol trade.
Okay.
Their last game was before the Gasol trade was against the Pistons. And I got tickets to the game to see him. And after the game, me and a couple of my friends met him in the tunnel after the game. They lost that game against the Pistons. I think Lamar Odom missed a shot that he passed to him. So Kobe was a little frustrated.
Yeah,
we got to
talking. About right.
We got to talking, and he told my friends, it was like a group of us. He pointed at me. He was like, this dude, the best dude that didn't get to play in here. And he pointed at the court. He was like, him right here. believe it or not. So that just kind of stuck with me, and it was to hear from a guy like that, and at that particular time when he told me that, I mean, he was the best player in the world when he made that statement to me in a group of my friends. So that stuck with me, that a person of that caliber would say that for me.
Do you have kids now?
I got 2 daughters.
2 daughters. How old?
11 and 6.
So the 11-year-old may have started to hear the stories. Dad was good. Dad was this. That,
Yeah.
that. Maybe even pulled up a YouTube video or something.
Yeah.
When you're hearing stuff like that from Kobe, who she knows, how does that make you feel good? Like, see, a little validation. See, Daddy was trying to tell you.
Yeah, a little bit. My oldest is a gymnast. She's a gymnast.
Okay.
So she's not really into the basketball,
Yeah.
but my 6-year-old, believe it or not, is more into I want to watch my dad on TV.
Okay.
I want to pull up his YouTube. I want to try to do his moves. So the young one does that. The oldest one is a little bit more reserved, and she's kind of like, yeah, whatever, Dad, whatever. But the young one's really intrigued by what I did in the past.
We're gonna get to what you did after college in just a second, because I think what you did, I'm wondering if we'll see more kids do that. I'll get to that in a minute.
Yep.
But I do want to go back to college,
Mm-hmm.
and so now you're playing at University of Detroit Mercy, a smaller school.
Yeah.
When you played the bigger schools, that's where that chip was on the shoulder. Like, man, I'm about to bust them up.
The chip stayed on my shoulder no matter who he played. I never was like, I'm getting up for Michigan. I'm getting up for Michigan State. It was when they tossed the ball up, it was every time. Every time, it don't matter who I played, because I wanted people to pick up the paper the next day and see that Rashad Phillips doesn't belong. Like, I always wanted to play at a high level where it was like he doesn't belong. When you look at the box scores, everybody else looks normal, and then you see Phillips and say, he got to get out of there. Like, that's 33 points, 32 points, 27 points, 11 assists, 6 steals. I wanted to stick out like a sore thumb, I played that way.
And you did, man. Like I said, I remember kind of hearing the legend started to build. You know, like, hey, man, you started hearing his name. Who is this dude? And then it felt, again, this was a different era where everything wasn't televised. There wasn't 188 million stations. We didn't have social media.
Yeah.
So it was kind of started to like grow word of mouth. Like, man, you heard that Phillips kid. I mean, who? The one that looked like Iverson. Everybody's just talking about it. Then you started to see the games more. I don't know if they started becoming on TV more, because
they did. They actually did.
Okay, I knew I wasn't crazy.
My junior year, we actually got a contract with Fox Sports.
Okay.
For my last 2 years, and it was obviously
that makes a lot of sense.
So the TV cameras, my last 2 years, we always had the TVs were there every time we played at Callahan Hall. Fox Sports was there every game.
Okay, now I remember all of a sudden I started to see you all more.
Yep.
So college went great, really as great as it can go for you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you came out in 01.
01.
Let's talk about the draft process.
Oh,
so
yeah.
01, you putting up buckets, and I would imagine I would call it the most known unknown. Like, everybody
I
knows you, but it's like, I haven't seen, or I didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't no social media
There you
then,
go.
so it was like, what is he?
So what's that process like with scouts, coaches, and GMs? What is that like? So boom, college is over.
Yeah.
Tell me what happens after
So
that.
when I was done at UAD, I won the Naismith Award, which is the top player in the country under 6 feet. So it was the Naismith Premier Award. So they awarded to the top 6 foot and under point guard in the country. So I won that award. I was invited.
Who were the other nominees? Do you remember?
It was every top senior point guard in the country.
I'm just trying to think from there if I can remember anybody. That was 01.
It was some great players in that class.
I can't remember who would have. No, he would have been already gone by then.
Yeah, that's
Earl
something.
Boykins is already gone.
No,
Tyus
Boykins
Edney was
was
gone.
No, but those 2 guys won that same award.
Okay, so I remember all the.
Yeah, those 2
I was
guys.
4'11". Look, I was 4'11" in high school. Okay,
so
you
I
know
we can relate. No, Steve Logan won that award too from Cincinnati a couple years after me. So that's a pretty prestigious award when you're awarded the top point guard under 6 feet in the country. There's 351 Division I schools.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you do the math there, that's a lot of guys to win that award over. So I got invited to Portsmouth camp, and that's where all of the top senior NBA draftees supposed to go to, and you play in front of a bunch of agents and scouts, and I was the MVP there. So I finished. We won the championship as well. So I won the championship. My team won the championship. I finished second in scoring and second in assists, and I got MVP at the Portsmouth. So I'm thinking I'm done. I get an agent. And then I get invited to go to Phoenix. It was 3 camps. Now it was only 2. Okay. I had to go through 3 camps. So they sent me to Portsmouth. They sent me to Portsmouth to fail. Okay, they
to
sent
finally prove. See, he doesn't
can't.
belong.
He don't belong.
Okay.
They sent me there to fail. Okay, we knew what it was, and I was up for the challenge, so I wasn't backing down. They sent me there to fail. Won the MVP. So when I won the MVP, I was like, I want to skip the next one and get some rest. It was a long season. I went right into it. They was like, no, we need you to play in Phoenix. I went to Phoenix, took my team to the championship. The last play before the championship game, we were up 20, so we went to the championship. I turned my ankle on Damon Thornton from NC State. Big 6'8" dude. Carlos Arroyo, who played for the Pistons. He was guarding
Puerto Rico,
me.
right?
Yep, he was guarding me at the top of the key. I double crossed him over, got him in the lane, and Big Damon Thornton came and ran at me, and I wrapped the pass around him, and he landed on my ankle. But my teammate caught it and dunked it and finished it. So I messed my ankle up, so I missed the championship game, and we lost. So I didn't get the MVP, but I was on pace.
But they saw you. They saw you.
They saw me. I dominated Phoenix as well.
Yeah.
So then they said, we want you to go to Chicago. So they sent me to Chicago, the pre-draft, and they still got that now.
Now I'm curious. Who are you playing? Like, who are the other guys? Are they
Top
lesser
seniors,
or
juniors,
inferior because you're better? Like, what are they solid?
Yeah, top seniors, juniors. Like I said, Carlos Arroyo was there.
He was a player. Yeah, he was
played 10 years in the NBA.
Yeah, he was a player.
You know, Jeff Trepanier, who was one of the top shooting guards in the country from USC,
I
was
remember
there.
him.
Brian Scalabrine, the White Mamba from USC. Like, it was a lot of, like, Gerald Sasser. He was a first-round pick that year from SMU. So it was a lot of guys there. Horace Jenkins as well was a great Division II prospect. So it was really tough competition there because that's why I had a new appreciation for like mid-major basketball because dudes really can play. So I was amongst those guys, and to be the MVP out of that, it, again, validated why I didn't believe I was a mid-major player. So I played to show people I didn't belong. That was always my motto. I don't belong on this court, and I'm going to show you.
So you ball out, MVP should have been MVP, but
turned
my ankle.
Yep.
What are you hearing from your agent now? They're hating, they're loving you, they're gassing you, they're not. I mean, what are you hearing?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, after I won the MVP and I went to Phoenix and played well, the mock draft came out. There was a mock draft, and I was slotted a first-round pick, and they had me going 28 to San Antonio in the mock draft. So I felt, my agent, God rest his soul, Henry Thomas, he just passed about a year ago. Dwayne Wade's agent, Michael Finley agent, Lindsey Hunter, Tim Hardaway, Chris Bosh, like he was always based out of Chicago. So we were in the mock draft, so we felt like we were in position, but I just felt like my mock draft was more on my play and not the phone calls that were being made. I felt like I was doing all of the work.
I get what you mean.
You see what I'm saying? It was like my play got me in that mock draft. And when you get to that level of basketball, it gets further and further away from basketball. It becomes more of a business where the agents now have to make the phone calls, and your college coaches have to answer calls and return messages and send tape, because it's not like it was now where the tape you can just go on YouTube and look up a player.
No, they got to send a whole
they had
edited
to send a whole VHS tape. So a lot of college coaches wasn't keen to doing that. It was like when the season's over with, they were on a golf course. I'm not going to be making copies of tape, sending it to the Los Angeles Lakers all the way in California. I'm not in the office. I ain't calling Doc Rivers back. It went like that. And I was a victim of that. And I went to Chicago and played again and played well. There was no MVP trophies given out then. It was just more like measurables and playing and stuff like that. And once the draft came, they didn't call my name. And I always tell people this: I was an NBA player. I never played in the NBA. There's a difference. There's guys that didn't get drafted because they just wasn't NBA players.
Right.
I didn't get drafted, but I was an NBA player. And again, that goes back to what Kobe said years after, because he knew what an NBA player looked like.
Oh, I mean, 20 years and somebody who relished competition and who was never one to bite his tongue. If he says that, we have no choice but to believe it. Then he knows what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's fast forward, okay? Yeah. So that doesn't work out. You go overseas. Talk about that experience. I always reference, I played in high school with, and I'm sure you know, LaVelle Blanchard. Played in
Ann Arbor.
Yep, I played in high school with him. He is the epitome. I will go to my grave beyond shocked that he didn't make the NBA, because I'm biased in the sense I played with him from 11 years old through high school.
I get
and
it.
He went to Michigan and all. So I'm like, If he didn't make the league, what the heck is the league like?
What's going
You know what I
on?
mean? It must
Yeah.
be insane if he didn't make it. And then I got a little older, and I will say, you can assess skill set a little better now.
As you
And
get
I got
older.
away from the bias of just
Yeah,
playing.
you get
with
older.
him. I'm like, okay, now that I see
He was
that
a tweener.
yeah,
He was a 6'6" tweener.
You said it best. He would work now because
be great now.
the power forward shoot the three,
He'd
they
be
stretch
great
the
now.
floor. He will be a perfect hybrid 6'7" power forward.
He
three
was.
guy.
He could have been like Draymond Green.
I said it.
Same,
He's
but he was a better shooter.
Yeah, oh for sure.
He was a better shooter.
Yeah, we started every game. Win a tip, I'd swing it to him. He hit a three from the hash. That was how the game started.
Yep.
But okay, so you go overseas, and reference to him was he was another great player who ended up going overseas.
Yep.
And I spent time in the radio in Flint.
Okay.
Gang of guys from Flint go overseas. I mean, ridiculous amount. 'Cause
Yeah.
You know how hot that area is with basketball.
for sure.
What's that experience like? Because I want to tie that into as we head into the NBA draft. And again, Rashad Phillips is here. Draft Guru is going to help us break this down. I want to get that experience because now I got the one and done. So guys either have to go to college or they have to go overseas or do whatever. I don't sweep floors for a year. It don't matter. They have to be 1 year removed.
Right.
What was your experience like? And then how do you think it is today? And why don't you think more guys go overseas?
Well, my experience overseas where it was kind of hot and it was kind of cold. I mean, you it's like closing your eyes and throwing a dart and wherever you hit and you see what happens there. But my first year was in Italy, and I really liked it. I broke the rookie scoring record in Italy my first year. I had 51 points the first game. It's still a record. It still hasn't been broken. It still sits there. So I had a pretty good time there, but over time, sometimes you get the management problems with the teams where they don't pay you on time. So that becomes a factor. And then
wait, hold on. So is it like when I used to throw parties in college at the club and the club owner be like, hey, shoot, now look, man, hey man, the DJ, I can't pay the DJ. Was it like that? Like they just
some places it was like that. It was some places where guys were playing 3 or 4 months and hadn't got paid, and you can ask anybody who's played overseas; they'll have the same stories.
Okay. So what's the upside then, or what?
Well, there was great times. I had some great times in Turkey, France. My last year in Saudi Arabia was fantastic. I had a short stint in Australia that I really love. I still got friends in Australia to this day because of that. So there was some really good times that I had overseas, but it just got to a point where I had my first child and I was getting a little bored playing because it got away. I love the game, but I got tired of just the stuff that was going on.
The politics, the business.
Yeah, it was just too much for me. I was 30. I was ready to make another transition in my life. My dad always taught me that you got to reinvent yourself like every 7-8 years. You reinvent yourself. And I was 30, been playing basketball my whole life. I went overseas at 23. I was 30, 31. I was at that 7-8 year point where I needed to reinvent myself. So that's what I did.
Talk about your dad quickly. I was reading that he was obviously an instrumental part of your life, and I wish more of us had those, had father figures.
Yeah.
But he started a program, was it Reach?
Reach, yeah.
I saw that, and that's kind of kept you out of the streets and other kids as well. Talk about Reach for a minute.
Reach stands for Religion, Education, Athletics, Character, and Hope. It was a program that my father instilled in 1979. And it was just a community-based program, and he used basketball as a vehicle to steer kids in the right direction using the game of basketball. And over time, his program started to attract top-level attention from across the state because we started to have some of the best basketball runs in the state. And you got the likes of Steve Smith started to hang around, come up there, and Chris Webber and Jalen Rose. So it became a hotbed for great talent around the city. So my dad was able to he had a instrumental influence on not just myself but so many kids in the community, and he had a great outreach. So still to this day he's a pillar in the community, and he's still doing it and he's still after it, and I get a lot of my my passion for kids and helping from those days.
All right, we're going to get to the draft here. Just quickly go back to that question I was asking about. Yeah. Guys, why more people don't pull the Brandon Jennings or Emmanuel Mudiay and go overseas for a year and make $500,000, $800,000, $1 million, whatever. Yeah. Will have made money. You will have checked off the box that I was gone a year, and maybe you would have had some say better competition that you're paying older men in pros. Some say not because the basketball isn't as good. But what do you say to that? And do you suggest from your experience that kids should do it or not?
I think it's a case on case
Okay.
type of study. I don't think there's one general rule. You have to go by case, kid by kid, depending on that kid's upbringing, depending on that kid's background, the maturity level and stuff like that, because you're leaving home and you're taking a job. Okay. It's a job that you must hold yourself accountable. So if you're 18 years old and you're not really ready to be mature enough to treat basketball as a job, it wouldn't be a good idea. I would prefer you just go to school. That
makes sense.
So it's like I said, it's a case-by-case study. Brandon Jennings was obviously ready to go overseas. He was mature to do that, move today. But there's kids that will go over there and get in trouble. It's another country. There's a language barrier.
Angelo Ball. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, there's a language barrier there. There's a transitional learning curve there that a lot of people don't talk about. The money sounds good, but there's so much more that goes into that transaction when you go overseas. It's like it's a whole nother world. So you got to be careful with that.
That really does make sense. I mean, I picture myself at 18. I couldn't imagine, hey, here's $100,000.
Go to Greece.
Go to Greece and be on your own and be free. I couldn't imagine because I did that with $100 in a year in college. Yeah. All the pizza and hanging out in video games I was doing. All right, man. Rashad Phillips here on the Church League Champ podcast. So let's get to this NBA draft. Yeah. Last year's draft put out, at least to me, it's kind of weird. Ben Simmons wasn't a part of it, but now he is because officially, he could be Rookie of the Year. Who knows? So we got to include him, even though he was the year before. Yeah. But if you include him, you're talking about at least 3 transcending guys in Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons, and then Jason Tatum. But maybe a couple other nice people. I like Dennis Smith Jr. I think he's Russell Light, like Russell Westbrook. Yeah, he's not him, but a little light. And then what's the kid in Chicago? Marketing, is it his name?
Louis Marketing from Arizona.
They got some players, man, in that draft. And then this draft looks like it's going to have some players as well. Yeah. So I saw you on Kyle Hurt, man, and you had your top 10. So let's kind of go over this. So some guys I'll just throw at you. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, and maybe what the perfect fit for them. Yeah. Number 1, you have somebody who was number 1 as far as excitement, number 1 as far as name recognition, but I don't think he's number 1 on anybody else's board. Trae Young. I think that was some bias. I think it was a small man bias. I think that's what it was. I think you represented for him because he is a shorter guard going into this league. Is that what it is?
No, it's not what it is. It's actually when you look at Trae Young.
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie.
Come on now. When you look at Trae Young, this is a kid that we've never seen what he's brought to the table. You just said number 1 in excitement. I mean, box office type player. But statistically, he's their top scorer in the country, top assist guy in the country. And when you look at the NBA game is catered to dynamic point guard play. He epitomizes dynamic point guard play. So when he's ranked number 1 because of how the NBA is played and how the NBA is marketed. So a lot of people are not understanding. That's one of the reasons why I have him at number 1.
But is he, if you were a GM, GM of the Pistons, let's say your hometown, is that the guy you would take number 1, or is because I get what you mean. There's star quality, there's like
more to it.
There's more to it. But if I'm saying raw talent, like this guy's gonna help me win, and he could be, maybe is he still number 1?
Yeah.
Okay. You like him a little bit more than everybody else. You don't like DeAndre Ayton, who 98% of people say is number 1.
That's the whole point. But why does 98% of everybody like him? Just because he's big and he has muscles. Well, he's an offensive lineman. More of that. Oh well, Trae Young led the nation in scoring and assists. This dude didn't lead the nation in nothing.
He got busy. Well, but okay,
he led the nation in nothing.
Let me play the other side of that though.
At 7 feet.
Yeah, but many players come out and didn't lead anything and end up being great to phenomenal.
Yeah, but you can't punish somebody for leading the nation. Now it's a backwards.
They're punishing him because he's too small. And
you
went through that.
Yeah.
No, but that is. They're saying he's either too small. I'm hearing guys say he won't be able to get that same shot off against quality defense against a league that has, LeBron in essence is a point guard at 6'8". I mean, you have all these tall, Russell Westbrook 6'4", jump out of the gym. So these bigger, stronger guards. They're saying if Stephen Curry, who people say he's like, struggles to get his shot, get in the lane sometimes.
He don't.
What would he do?
No, he
not
don't.
As not his shot, the three. We
Dude's
know
a
that.
two-time MVP, unanimous MVP. He hasn't struggled at all in the league.
What about Trae Young? Also turnovers. They say he led the league. I think it was 5.5.
Yeah, he's supposed to lead it in turnovers. You get double teamed every time he cross half court. That's part of the game. You look at a guy like J.J. Barrera that plays for the Dallas Mavericks. He's 5'7". Nobody's saying he's too small. He's been in the NBA 12 years.
But they did though. So that's the thing, and I'm agreeing with, again, this is coming from somebody, I get it. I was 4'11" in high school, man. I'm only 5'10" now.
Yeah.
I get it. I think it's what you said about you in college. It's one of those, you're going to have to prove me wrong, prove yourself right. So that J.J. Barrett, he had to prove them right.
And he did.
And he did.
Trae Young's better than J.J. Barrett.
Oh, but I don't think anybody's questioning that. So Trae Young, somebody I thought we might have to get to at top 5, top 6. And then you knocked it out at 1. So then let's go to DeAndre Ayton. What do you see in him? Everybody else says he's number 1. You say he's just big and strong and needs to go be a tight end.
He's big. He's strong. He's massive. He's he can score around the basket. He does some things that are NBA post player like, but that's about it. He's just the prototypical traditional back to the basket guy. Like when I look at prospects, I think this is where a lot of people disagree with me, because when I look at prospects, I look at it as football terms as well. Like I look at DeAndre Ayton as an offensive lineman. I look at Trae Young as a starting quarterback.
And anybody who knows, we know what that means.
Yeah, so we always tend to gravitate to something that's easier for us to go to. Like let's draft an offensive lineman, but they don't score any touchdowns. You know, they what they do is important,
right?
But a guy like Trae Young that can bring more to the table than DeAndre Ayton just going on the block, hitting a hook shot, coming back down, grabbing a rebound. Like that's just pretty methodical for me.
Well, okay. Now I would argue, while the league is small ball and all that good stuff, and we know that, and you death lineups like they have in Golden State, which by the way, I think Golden State is a terrible team that we use as an example, because they arguably at the end of their careers could have the 2 greatest shooters of all time. So you can't just go small to go small sake. You get what I mean? You can't
absolutely understand.
I mean, we blow
They're
it
not
out
the normal small group.
we put it blow it out of proproportion. It's like, dude, they have literally
the Pistons went small and they get killed.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And now with Kevin Durant, you have probably top 5 greatest shooters of all time. So it's absurd. So I do think we get carried away with the whole copycat league. Everybody, they went small. We got do what works for you.
I understand that.
So, but the reason I brought that up was, while everybody's going small, there is a new resurgence of the big man, because you got Joel Embiid, who looks like he's going to be an all-star for years to come. You got Anthony Davis, who's kind of a weird big man in that he was a point guard all those years. Then
he's a face-up big.
He's a face-up big. But then you got Karl Anthony Towns, you got Porzingis, you got all these new big, DeMarcus Cousins, which he's just a grown man. You have the bigs now. We said the big is gone, and it almost seems like now the big has come back and the big has created themselves to say, all right, we're not the traditional Patrick Ewing, David Robinson.
I understand.
We're hitting threes. We're picking, popping. What do you want from us? So with these other guys, so talk to me. Let's go over some other big guys that can maybe be like that. A Jaren Jackson Jr. who went to Michigan State, a guy who can hit the three, can be kind of big. Marvin Bagley Jr. Let's maybe start with Jackson. What do you like or don't like about him?
Well, I like his upside.
By the way, Rashad has him at going 8. Well, 8 top prospect. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, he's not getting drafted 8th.
But this is your 8th ranked player. Go
ahead. 8th ranked player. He gave us a small sample size first in college. Right. We didn't see a lot. He only played 21, 22 minutes a game out of 40. So we didn't really see a lot from him. Got in foul trouble a lot, and he had some inconsistencies because of his age.
Right.
So he's already displayed that, and I just think he needs one more year of college, one more year of seasoning as that guy. He was there, and that was Miles Bridges' team. So people had to understand it's easier to play when your teammate is the guy. When he's the guy, then my job's easy. Mm-hmm. See, Trae Young, I have Trae Young number 1 because he was the guy.
The only guy.
He was the only guy on that team. And he didn't have a second guy. DeAndre Ayton had Alonzo Trier and Cartwright, the point guard. Right. But Jaren Jackson kind of took a back seat. Cassius Winston.
Yeah, they had some other players.
Nick Ward.
And a system, too, with Izzo where...
there's something there with Jaren Jackson Jr. that I haven't seen enough.
I'm not a big fan of him.
I haven't seen enough.
Yeah, when I watch him, I'm like, okay, he's clearly got talent.
Yeah.
But I'm like... he's a little raw, and it's not the moves aren't efficient. The moves aren't like, oh, that's a go-to move. And again, he's 18, 19.
Yeah, he's young.
But I'm like, they're a little bit higher on him than I am. When I was able to watch him, I'm like, okay, let's go to Marvin Bagley Jr. Some people say he talent-wise should be the number one pick as far as just ability mixed with talent and height. Why not? You have him as your fifth. Mm-hmm. Why?
Well, offensively, he's really good. Offensively, he's already shown that he can score the basketball in a multitude of ways. But I still think that he's going to struggle with ball handling. What is he? Is he a 3? Is he a 4?
He's a Thor.
So
he's a 3-4.
That's what I'm. So
I mean, really a 5 nowadays too in some teams.
But when you match him up in an NBA game, like who is he going to be able to? Is he strong enough to poke? Because Draymond Green is going to guard him. Josh Jackson's going to guard him. So you have to look at the guy. So, again, my player rankings are how I see them with my eyes. How do it translate to an NBA game? On opening night, when you toss up the ball and Ben Simmons is guarding Marvin Bagley, how will he fare?
And he has to guard Ben Simmons.
Yeah, how will he fare? So that's why I don't over-sensationalize prospects like everybody else do, because I put them in the NBA atmosphere, 20,000 people. Ben Simmons is guarding you for the whole night. You got to guard him. How do you fare?
One thing I will say is what I like about him, and one of the things that I start to identify is if somebody has like Trae Young's skill set, he has multiple, clearly number one on your board. And even other people, if he goes 8th, they still can assess that he has a few skill sets. Mine is I like to look for somebody who has something I can depend on. And I like with Bagley, he can rebound the ball very well, and he is very athletic. So I need something that I'm like, okay, tonight the jumper didn't work. I still know I'm going to get this from him. And I like that I can kind of count on that. Like, okay, the 3, the jumper, the pick and pop wasn't popping, but he still got me 12 rebounds.
I see that.
And I think his athleticism and his ability to rebound and kind of the hunger with that, what comes with that, I think that's going to bode well for him.
He got a good motor. He led the ACC in rebounding. Yeah. I like that about him. I do.
Let's go to somebody else. Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba. Yeah. Down in Texas. What is he? 7'1"? What they got him at? 7'1". I mean, he's kind of the X factor to me. He could be a guy ends up being Hasheem Thabeet-ish, where we're like, that didn't work out. Or he could end up being a Joel Embiid, where we're like, oh, after give him 2-3 years, you're like, oh shoot, this dude is nuts. I'm glad we grabbed him. Yeah. Tell me about Mo Bamba.
I mean, I think all the prospects can go that way. I think we can use that same narrative for every prospect in the draft. It could either go left or right.
Yeah, but there's some. Okay, let me argue. There's some guys I'll say, oh, he'll just be, if nothing else, he'll be a player. Like, okay, he'll be a player.
Okay.
I think most guys end up being like that. Like, there'll be a solid role player. Corey Brewer, playing the league a lot of years. You know what you're going to be. Kyle Korver, like, all right, I know exactly what you do. You're in the league.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Utility guys.
Because we talk about them so much and this person, if they're not an all-star for 15 years, then we've made them a bum. Yeah, you get what I mean? Because we set them up for that.
It's our fault.
If Trae Young ends up being Mike Conley-esque, it's like we had a heck of a career.
That's pretty good point guard. Pretty good point guard.
But we make it like he's got to be. What do we immediately do? Stephen Curry. Steph Curry. It's like, well, dang, y'all now I'm a 2-time MVP, 3-time champion. So we put him up there that if they're anything less or a couple steps below that, then it's like, he was all right.
Right.
I don't like how we do that. But go ahead a little bit more about Mo Bamba.
I think Mo Bamba's upside is like Anthony Davis. I don't think he's Joel Embiid. He's not. Their body types are totally different, first of all. And so he's able to stretch the defense. I mean, I know Joel opens up the court a little. He shoots threes a little bit. But I think Mo Bamba is in that unicorn stage, like Porzingis, Giannis from over at Milwaukee. Ooh. Like he has.
What is that?
He has that type of genetics, and I just believe with the skill set that he has kind of shown that it resembles Anthony Davis. He has some really good offensive qualities that gets overlooked.
Give me somebody maybe and there's a few other like top prospects. Actually, no, you know who I want to talk about? If we would have had this conversation a year ago, he'd have been the number 1 pick or somewhere around there. Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
When I watch him, I'm like, man, he looks pro ready as far as his shot, his ability to get the shot. Kind of, I don't think his handle is as good, but like a Jason Tatum, where you saw him,
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's pro ready.
Yeah, I
Got
see
the
that
height,
too.
you know, they list him at 6'10", whether he's 6'9" or not. You're like, he can get a shot. But then the back injury and all of that. Let's kind of put the back injury to the side.
Okay.
What do you like about him, and do you think people are making a mistake by, him maybe going late, 9 or is it 13-ish?
Yeah. I really like him. I think he's tremendous. I mean, he is the new wave of positionless basketball. He can play 1 through 4, has a great motor. He's a great athlete. He has a lot of confidence about himself. I don't think teams. I think he doesn't go past 7. I think he'll get drafted between 3 and 7.
Okay,
he'll be in that range, and I think somebody's just going to take a chance on him because of the back issue. But if you exclude the back issue, this guy's a the consensus #1 pick.
Is there anybody else? Devin Chinko. Did I say it right?
From Villanova.
From Villanova. Is there somebody that's sneaky? I feel like he's going to be sneaky. Like, we're going to look back and be like, again, is he an 8-time All-Star? Maybe not, but a guy that you had a heck of a career. Like, like, man, he had a nice career, and he was a heck of a player. What do you like or dislike about him? Because when I watch him, I'm like, okay, he shoot, check, got that toughness, got the little edginess to him. I like, can get to the rack. I'm like, clearly he's not a top 5 pick, but is he sneaky good?
I don't know if he's sneaky good. He comes from Villanova. Can't be sneaky and come from Villanova. This is Jay Wright's program. Okay, this is a 2-time.
Yeah, but they don't put out mega. Look, Josh Hart sneaks in. He's what, late first round. Like, they don't put out these.
Villanova is a factory, man. Like, Jay Wright.
I'm trying to think who's their best. Not in the history, because obviously they've had players throughout history. But I'm thinking the last 5, 6, 7 years, they've all been. What's your boy Kyle Lowry? Wasn't he there too? Like,
he's been a good pro.
But he was I think a second rounder pick or late first round. Like, they don't put out the top 5, top 8 guy like you think.
And I think that's I think that's when we get caught up in just draft picks.
Kerry Kittles. There you go. Kerry Kittles might be the best.
No, man. Tim Thomas was a 1-year deal at Villanova.
Okay. But see, I said 7, 8 years. We're going back to like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, Villanova, Villanova puts out good product, man.
They do. They just don't put out a star. That's all I'm saying.
They got
How are you arguing?
They got
with
Mikal Bridges right now.
They do have Mikal Bridges.
And he's 4 on my board.
He is 4 on your board. And he might be that guy that goes top 5 and actually does some. He's kind of that. I didn't know he could shoot that well in that championship game. He was.
Dude's a real deal. He's the most polished player in the draft.
Give me somebody before I let you go. Give me 1 or 2 other players to keep an eye on, and it can be. So I want a player maybe still in your top 10, or then give me one more that's kind of out of the box. Like I said, for me, it's Devin Chico. I by the time I'm done with this, I'm gonna call him like Damacinko.
Yeah, you done already made his own. You made his name up. So look, I'm with you, Devin Chico.
Cinco de Mayo. I'm gonna call him what? Look, his mama called him that. I'm gonna call him that.
That's what I'm gonna call him.
Give me one other player like that where you feel like, man, watch out for this guy.
I like Tony Carr from Penn State. I've been high on Tony Carr for all season. I think he's a big guard that can post up. He's a traditional post guard. He reminds me a lot of Gary Payton. Just how
one of my favorites.
Yeah, just how he backs guards down, and that's really tough to do at the college level because the way the college is so packed in. But he still has enough ability to use the post game in the college game. So I think he will be able to utilize that. I think he's a sneaky top of the first round, early second round pick, and I think he can contribute right away because of his size, and he's always been a winner.
Grayson Allen, what do you think about him?
I just think that
it is what it is, or is he going to get to the league? Because you know how there's some guys thrive in the league. Like, I finally have some freedom.
Yeah, it's
floor
open.
Space, and there you go. It's open, and then they kind of surprise you.
I think it's fit for him.
Okay,
he has to go because he's played under Coach K for 4 years, so he has his expectations of being coached. Is his mentality. So he has to go somewhere where he needs to be coached. He's not a freestyle type of player. He is a systematic type guy. Yeah. So you're going to need that out of Grayson Allen. But he's a great athlete.
So you're saying that the Spurs are going to draft him and all of a sudden he's going to be a player. We're going to be like, man, what in the world?
Yeah, like I think he'll be a serviceable pro, especially if a team like the Spurs, that will be a great organization that can kind of cater and customize around his play.
All right, so the draft is coming up this Thursday, and I appreciate you breaking it down. We're going to look forward to it, man, and I'm really looking forward to free agency, too. Any free agency thing you think going on? Is it going to be Kawhi, LeBron, and Paul George in L.A.?
I have no idea. I don't even think they know right now. I don't even think Kawhi knows what's going on. But if I'm San Antonio, I'm trying to move him, but I'm not trading him to the Lakers. You don't want to play for my organization. I'm not going to grant your wish. You sat out the whole season. First of all, we offered you $200 million, and you still going to tell us you don't want to play for us, so and you want to go to the Lakers? No, I'm
sending him in Orlando.
Yeah, I'm gonna send him to
Orlando somewhere. We'll be like, remember that? It used to be a dude.
I'm gonna send him to Orlando.
Kawhi Leonard.
We'll take him. Yeah, we'll take him in Orlando, and we'll see what we can do with him.
You about to send him to Charlotte?
Yep.
You're like,
that's what I would do.
Send him to Siberia then. You might as well.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Are you on social media? Tell us a little bit about.
Yes.
I know you got again. You did an excellent job.
On
Cowhurst. So tell me a little bit more about what you have going on and what you're trying to do in the future.
I got my my own sports talk show on YouTube. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sports Talk 2319. That covers the entire landscape of college basketball. I do interviews with players and coaches throughout the season. Give my predictions on games and must-watch games throughout the season. And you can follow me on Twitter, RP3Natural, and on Instagram, Rashad Phillips, RP3.
There you have it, man. I appreciate it. I'm excited for your future, man. Getting your analysts on.
Yeah.
Check out all of his stuff, and we'll have to have you back when these players are drafted. And we got to do a Trae Young watch. Every month or two, I'm going to check in with
Everybody's going to be. I'm going to change my phone number.
I'm going to have to check in on the Trae Young watch. This is in Rashad Phillips, now on the Trae Young watch. I appreciate it, man. Good luck with everything, and thanks for hopping on the podcast.
Thank you. Sounds good.